was it for? Let's see, my slides aren't advancing, so I'm going to reshare and I'll begin again. So, student expectations agreement, excellent. What were some other things that you utilized it for? Some of us might have used it for, oh, messaging for students. I actually utilized it for messaging for students as well. Okay, good. What else? Synthesize interview notes, excellent. Okay, that's wonderful. I'm going to restart my share, creating agendas. So we can see this such a useful tool for being able to kind of assist us, be that assistant that we can't afford to hire, help us with our work. Okay, let me go back to my screen share now. Okay, let's see if you can see my window. Okay, so my first exposure to AI was back in 1980 with the introduction of the Texas Instruments Speak and Spell. A lot of us don't realize that that was based on machine learning. I guess I was an emerging nerd at the age of 5 and really excited for this feedback that I had with this technological marvel. And so we do know that, AI can be a useful tool. It's something that we've been adapting for decades. When we first got that graphing calculator, we were so excited to be able to use in our classes. And so being able to keep it as a tool is really important. And so let's talk a little bit about how we can use AI with our students and really what is the premise here. We understand that artificial intelligence, AI, as any system, is designed to do tasks that we usually think of as human, things like recognizing patterns, responding to language, generating ideas. And most of what we use right now falls under generative AI, which is tools that can produce text and images, which is what some of us did this week, and summarize data. But I want to stress this. We know that AI is not thinking. In fact, I recently heard of it as referred to as almost intelligent as opposed to artificial intelligence. And so we know that it can make mistakes and have biases, and that's where the human dimension comes in. Now, why does this matter with our dual credit population? Well, we do know that when our students are actually using AI right now, some are using it with permission the right way with AI literacy. I heard that some folks have an AI course that students are able to take now. We do know though that some students are using it kind of like, on their own without any guardrails. Think about bowling where you have that when you're first learning to bowl and the guardrails are there to kind of help keep you in the lane. Some of our students are using it without those guardrails. And I think that that's where our role comes in to be able to both use it as a productivity tool, but show our students how it can be useful for their exploration as well, specifically with regard to, their majors and careers. A lot of our students are already using it for that. I had one student, and this is what kind of generated the idea for me way back in, I want to say 2024. I had a student who was using Snapchat. Yeah, it was Snapchat to explore her career options. She had typed a question into Snapchat about becoming a human resources manager and engaged in a conversation. But then she brought that conversation to me for an academic advising session. And we talked about the conversation that she had with Snapchat and where she could go from there to get, more detailed information about what she wanted to do. I want to share with you, ultimately, she decided she didn't want to go into human resources. So it was a great conversation to be able to have. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to expose you to, oh, do you hear a lot of background noise? Is that what you're hearing right now? Is anybody else hearing? Okay, good. Oh, okay, good. Wonderful. I'm in a sound booth, so let me know if there's like a fan or something that you're hearing. So I'd like to expose you all to something called Gemini Gems. I'd like to see a show of hands for folks who've seen or utilized Gemini Gems. Anybody using Gemini Gems? I see Notebook LM. Excellent. Anybody familiar with Gemini Gems? Okay. So a Gemini gem is similar to, I guess, one of those chatbot agents that you might see in ChatGPT. our university system has an arrangement with Google where we are able to utilize the, workspace account. And embedded within Google, there's a little icon that you'll see. It looks like a little star, and it stands for Gemini, which used to be Bard AI. Thank goodness they switched it from Bard because nobody knew what that was, Gemini. And so what we find is that these gems are small micro interactions that you can have where you can input your own document similar to Notebook LM, and you can interact with the material. And I do want to let you know that anybody can access a gem. You might have different permissions based on where you are and based on your agreement that you have with Google, if you have one at all. Okay, so how does it work? Well, I'm going to show you a little demonstration. We're going to use an existing gem that I have, and I'm going to show you how I used it with my student population. And then I'm going to invite you to create your own micro gem right now here in this conversation. So hopefully that will be useful for you. I'm going to show you how it responds and what kinds of outputs it can generate. Okay. All right. So I teach a couple of different early college courses. One course I teach is called Personal or Self-Development. It's a self-development course. It's similar to our Introduction to College course. Now, for those of us who are instructors, remember the old school days where we would give out handouts in a face-to-face class, let's say a survey or questionnaire, and folks would take the chance to answer them. But for a lot of us, we're also tasked with teaching or instructing online, either synchronously or asynchronously. It's a little bit harder to kind of have that handout interaction in an online space. So I decided to convert my handout. And if you have the link in the chat, you'll see that one of the links is to the handout that I decided to convert to a Gemini gem. So it's one use case that I'd like to put in front of you, is that if you have handouts and things that we're typically used to giving to our students, maybe consider converting that handout to a gem. And so here, the students have 15 statements on a scale of 1 to 5, a Likert scale. I'm going to pull up that gem now. All right. So you can see the handout is called Understanding Your Motivation. And I'm going to just kind of show you what it looks like when you kind of begin to interact with it. So I would just type hi and get started. I've already given it a prompt that when a student enters hi or hello, this is the introduction they should get from the gem. So typical for Hawaii, it would start with aloha, and then giving some idea or context for what the student is going to engage in. So letting the student know how much time it's going to take in order to complete the assessment and ask for their reflection. And so it says, are you ready to begin? If I say yes, then from there, it's going to begin to ask me some of the questions from the handout. So as you can see, it's giving me instructions. Choose a number from 1 to 5, 1 being not true, 5 being very true. And so then the first statement is here. I feel proud when I complete something that challenged me. And so I'm going to select 5. And then it's just going to go through each one of those 15 questions. I'm not going to take you through those 15 questions. Here, we're going to do what we do in the magic of those cooking shows. You know, you watch a cooking show and then you see that the meal is already made after going through the ingredients. So we're just going to jump right to the end here, where I'm going to show you what that conversation looks like at the end. So you can see that the student is given some data about their motivational style, whether it's intrinsic, extrinsic, purpose-driven, or based in resilience. And now there's some discussion here about the results. So similar to when you fill out those surveys online, and then they ask you to tabulate your score, and then they give you the results at the end. That's what we're getting with this Gemini gem. And then you can see there's a tip for the week for the student based on the results. And then for my course, they're invited to take a moment to think about the results and to use the prompt below to write a reflection based on the results. So this week I will try blank to stay on track. One thing that could get in my way is blank, and my plan to handle it is blank. And then of course you see a mahalo for completing the reflection, and there's a request for anything else that that, the Gemini could help with. And so that is one way in which I've used a gem. And now you're going to be invited to come up with, well, to use a prompt that I'm going to give you to create your own gem. And I'm going to guide you through it step by step. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do is go to a Google page, and then you're just going to, let me open up another window so that you can see. Click on, if you have Google, you can just click on the waffle, that's what this is called, at the top here. And then if you scroll down, you might see that you have Gemini right here. Also, if depending on your plan, you might have the opportunity to make videos and other things. If you don't have Gemini, you can just kind of go to Google and type in Gemini, just making sure to spell it Gemini. Once you get to Gemini, it's going to open up a window that looks like this. And what you're going to do is you're going to select gems on the left. So I'm going to give folks just about 30 seconds to catch up with me, going to the waffle, selecting the Gemini icon, and then going to the word gems in the left window. Okay, once you do that and you click on it, takes you here. You can see that there are some examples from Google of gems that have already been created. These are wonderful opportunities, especially this career guide, to kind of see what they've done with their own product and what they suggest that we can do with it as well. You can also see, if you've ever created some gems, that there are some gems down here. These are the ones that I've created. And I'm going to invite you to select Create New Gem. So once you select the plus sign, Create New Gem, this is the window that opens. Now, if you've tried to use ChatGPT's agent assist in order to create something similar, this is very similar to ChatGPT. The difference is that it's kind of housed within Google. You can add documents to it to refer to or to get knowledge from, and you'll see that that's right here. So in this case, for my motivation worksheet, I added the worksheet here as a file. It can access your Google Drive, which is nice. For us, the data isn't shared outside of the University of Hawaii system, so I don't have to worry about asking my students to go into ChatGPT, sharing their data with everyone else in the world. It's kind of right here housed within Google. And so in the instructions that you have, you could just give the gem a name. You don't have to put a description, but what I'd like for you to do for our exercise today is copy the entire prompt that I gave you. So if you look, the prompt is pretty exhaustive, and you don't have to worry about, so you're going to click on prompt to use, and you don't have to worry about creating this prompt yourself. You can use an AI, you can tell the AI, which is what I did, create a prompt for me that would be useful for academic advising. So what you're going to do is you're going to copy this entire thing, including giving the gem its role. What do you want it to do? Who is the gem? What is the personality? So that's why it says you are a supportive academic advisor helping students. So copy the entire thing all the way down to the end and then paste it into the gem. Okay, so you're going to use all of this. And for the name of your gem, it just be called test if you want to, or advising gem, any name you want to come up with. Okay. Sure. And the link to the prompt was shared in the chat by Carissa, I believe. It's right in this handout right here. I've put three links here. Oh, no worries. And so when you click on, so I'll put this in the chat for you. Let me copy that out now and go to our chat. Let's see, chat. Got it. So take a moment, if you would, and go into the gem, copy and paste it, and then I'm going to encourage you to engage with the gem. So once you create it, you click save. That's the most important part. We can do all this work and then forget to save our work. We shouldn't do that. So make sure you click save. And then test your gem and take a look at the output. So I'm going to give us all a moment to catch up. I'm also going to check the chat for questions, and then we'll continue since we have a little bit of time. Okay. And just checking that everybody can hear. There's no background noise. Let me stop presenting so there's no infinity mirror. Okay. And just giving you folks a chance to explore. If there are questions about the gym right now, we'll take about, 2 more minutes. So feel free to put questions in the chat. I'm happy to answer them for you. And this is considered a kind of mini gym because it's only based on a small prompt with limited data. We're not uploading any documents. But as you do this activity, I'd encourage you to think about how and if this could be useful in your practice. And again, I've had to iterate. So one of the things that we're learning with AI is the iteration, the adjustments that have to happen as we create our products. And so I've had to iterate a lot with gems and with really anything that I put together pertaining to AI. Sometimes I wonder if it's more work using AI than than if it isn't, because of all of the mistakes it could make and just, not using your voice and all of the ways that you have to kind of train it in a Pavlovian style. So, okay. And as you experiment, I'd love now to just get some thoughts from you about your use of the gym. So let me go back to sharing screen. All right, so let's take a look. What part of this might work for you in your advising practice or your work? If you're a professor or a teacher, what utility could you find for this? And what kind of results are you getting when you engaged with this gem? You're like my students in my synchronous Zoom classes where we ask for participation and folks are like, I don't know if I want to say. But please feel free to unmute.
Well, if I don't, I think somebody else is going to say something. Okay. So I went to a training that is ask the right question, is training people and students and even parents on when they go into meetings or services to know what questions to ask. And this would be a great addition to that process of saying what kind of questions should I be asking or when I go to this type of meeting or this type of advising session.
Mhm.
And what's my priority and organizing your thoughts. Because sometimes I do use AI a lot, but it's amazing at how it's good at organizing your thoughts to get you ready for what you need to do.
Yeah, that's excellent. And for our dual credit students, they're in high school and college at the same time. And a lot of time we're asking them to engage in activities that are, a stretch for them. And so I feel like this tool can be a scaffolding kind of tool to allow them to make that stretch with our guidance, of course. Other folks? Carissa, you were going to say?
So I don't know if it's just me today on this network, but the response time seems to be a little bit slow. I mean, it's really amazing, but the response time was taking like 30 seconds before it was responding. Is that typical, or is that just me today?
That hasn't been my experience.
Okay.
So as I demonstrated at the beginning of the session, the response time was pretty rapid as I was answering the questions 1 through 5 about my motivation. So I wonder if it's maybe a network issue today, or maybe it's because so many people in the world are utilizing Gemini, but I haven't had that experience. And when I tested it out just now, that wasn't my experience.
Yeah, I didn't recall that happening when the first time we
Yeah.
met. I was just so intrigued. I jumped on and I was actually able to upload some of our institutional documents, like how AP crosses over with our concurrent
Oh,
coursework. And it was amazing because we don't have the capacity to have advisors for our population. And it was just able to do some of that cross referencing between the courses that we offer at particular schools and what is accepted and how. So I love it.
yeah. Yeah, it's really similar to Notebook LM. I saw some folks indicated earlier in our discussion that they utilize Notebook LM, similar to what you just said, uploading documents. With Notebook LM, you can upload more documents than you can in Gemini Gem. I think with Gems, it's limited to 10 documents. But the advantage here to me is a little bit more of a conversational experience versus what one might have with Notebook LM because of the addition of the personality that you're assigning to the gem. You know, you are a helpful dual credit, academic advisor. That kind of personality sets the tone for how the gym is going to interact with you or with your, anyone using it. Yeah. Any other experiences or feedback, comments based on anybody need me to go back to show how to copy and paste the prompt? Any of that? I'll give it another 10 seconds. Feedback, comments.
I'm a little bit curious as to what the students think about utilizing this as a tool.
Well, it's interesting because I'm utilizing this tool as a way to guide them towards responsible AI use and show them that AI can be used for things other than asking ChatGPT to write your paper for you. So, when I teach this course, I give my students the option as well. I give them the digital form that they can fill out, the handout. They can choose to use that, or they can choose to use the gem if they'd like to explore. So this is my way of kind of gently saying, if you would like to explore how AI could be a tool in this area, feel free to, here's the link, give it a shot. And so they have 2 different ways of doing it. The last time I taught this class, I want to say it was about 75% of the class chose to use the chat. They just felt like it was something that they were more familiar with. And the other 25% went with, completing it on the Word document and then submitting their answers that way. So the feedback it seems to be like students appreciate the opportunity to explore how, AI could be used in this fashion. It kind of is permission to use AI. And they're like, oh, we can use AI? Sure, here's a tool, versus kind of sneaking to use AI. So throughout the course of the semester, I give them little options for which they have the opportunity to use AI, but they don't have to. So the very first assignment is one of those. It's a Padlet. Padlet has an AI feature built into it now. When you go into Padlet, and you know how you can create a picture or something before you're posted a Padlet. So I invite my students to create, using the AI tool embedded in Padlet, create an image that they feel that best represents, them in their introduction, or they can use, one of the other tools. But they have the option, I expose them to that at the very beginning. Feel free to use the embedded AI tool to do this. So from the beginning of the semester, I'm giving them parameters, giving them small permissions to explore with AI within the constraints of the tools that we're using. Okay, all right. And so in the end, what we find is that, um, the point isn't AI for AI's sake. The point is giving us ways to engage with tools that will also engage with our students in a way that feels familiar to them, but also in a way that kind of still guides and teaches them. And so we definitely want to keep the humanity in what we do. I don't think AI is going to replace us as academic advisors. And